Life is not fair. I recently heard that from somebody who was trying to convince me on the fact that life is not fair. And I was like, yes, you are correct. It is never gonna be fair. But the thing you have to realize is how can you use that situation that you're in to make it be your win. And so don't get stuck in the gaps of life, meaning don't get stuck in the downfalls. Don't get stuck in those bottomless pits that we all go through. But we have to be able to grow through what we go through. And so when life gives you lemons, you gotta turn it into lemonade. You gotta find a way to make this thing that you're going through to work for you. Know that your misery is designed to become your ministry. So that is not the end because you're going through it. Just know that you're preparing yourself to do something greater in your future. So just stay encouraged because that's going to help you to get to your destination by not focusing on what the bad times are, but be encouraged to know that the good times are on its way. And so if you keep pressing forward and keep moving into that direction where your help comes from, keep pursuing what God has told you in your mind of mind. Say, hey, I've created you for greatness. It may not look great at the time, but do know it's on its way. And if you keep encouraged and keep pressing forward, it will come to pass. And so my story kind of give you an illustration. Not saying it's the best story, but it's my story. But in my story, I found myself in a tight spot where I needed some money. So I thought about it. Who could I call? I had an uncle who lived close by. So I went there just to borrow a couple of dollars from him to get some gas. And so I went there in intent for that. But he blessed me with something so much more because he didn't give me what I asked for, but he gave me something that could help me to keep on growing. And not in the lane that I was currently in, but in a way that can help me in so many other ways in life. He gave me a raggedy lawnmower. Wasn't a top-notch lawnmower, but I'm very thankful that he did because he's spoken to my life. Let me know if you take this lawnmower, it's almost like Jack and the Beanstalk. You take this seed, which it was a seed, and you put it to work. It can bring forth more than what I can give you now. And that's exactly what I did. I took the lawnmower. Did not know much about cutting grass because I grew up in the projects where we didn't have to cut the grass. And so that means, hey, let me go out here and find people who need their grass cut. So I went and talked to a couple of neighbors who were some single mothers, and I took and asked them, can I cut their lawn? And they allowed me to do so. And through that, they were the best word of advertisement. They actually told their mom and them about me. And so guess what? I ended up cutting more and more yards because I took the seed that I was given and continued making it work for me. And it grew and grew to even now I have a nice sized lawn care service that actually I wasn't looking for, but it happened to go that way. And so if you just take the seed that's been given to you, sometimes it does not come in the form of what you're asking for, but if you allow it to grow, it would then bring you something that you couldn't even imagine for. Prime example, another story that I really resonate with is King David. Him and his men went off the war and they were coming back. And when they was coming back, they noticed some smoke in their residence. They used to hearing the women praising and dancing and kind of celebrating for them to come home. But in this situation, it was just the opposite. They realized their camp has been invaded. And they actually took the women, they took the children, and then they destroyed the rest. And so all the men that David ran with, all his guys, they really blamed him for their families being taken. And so everybody turned on him. Now he also lost some things. He lost 2 wives and lost his family too, but everybody blamed him. So he had to separate himself, feeling very low, feeling down on himself. But guess what? What the scripture says, he found a way to encourage himself. He sought God and asked him, can I go after these men? Can we win? He said, yes, David, go for it. And you will claim and regain what you lost. And so that's exactly what David did. And so that's what I'm telling you. You're going to have to find a way to encourage yourself, even though sometimes it may be a bad situation. You've lost much, but you can still win because if there's time on the clock, you can still bounce back and win in the fourth quarter. And so don't give up on yourself, even though you may not know how to do it. But if you just commit to the process of doing it, you will find a way to win. And so I want to give you 3 things you have to do in order to find yourself in a space where you will win. You first have to identify your shortcut. You have to take an honest look at the situation. You have to take honest assessment that, yes, I made the wrong call. Because if you never take responsibility of your actions, you can never accomplish what you're trying to set for. Because you first have to identify with the truth. But even if you did not do it, you have to then chew the meat and spit out the bones. You have to say, yes, I did not cause this problem to happen. Just recently, we had a bad storm in our area. And my wife called me and told me about it. And I didn't believe it because she always put a little extra on when she tells me something. So I just kind of shook it off. But when I came home, I realized, baby, I'm sorry, because it was a bad storm. It really caused some major disasters in our area. People thought it was a tornado. It was a very severe storm. And what I realized was I should have paid close attention. So I can't go back and recreate a moment that already has passed. But what I have to do is make my next step better. Meaning I have to make sure that we're good. So I had to make sure that I clean up the yard and do all that needs to get done here. But I have to also make sure I do the right things to make sure my wife doesn't have to worry about the problem. I had to deal with it. I had to call the insurance. I had to deal with every other things, not only ours, but also our neighbors. I had to check on the neighbors and make sure they were good. Because a lot of people had some things they lost on the storm too. Lost windows, lost trees. I mean, it was a real bad situation. But my whole point is that I have to own the fact that, hey, it got to get done. And so now that I got to get it done, I have to write down a plan of a tactic of how I got to go about doing it. And so that's the same thing. Now that you can know the truth, now you have to come up with a strategy on what you need to do to make it happen. So recently I was talking to someone close to me. I'm not going to put you out there. And they were telling me about their problems. They would hit me hard with the problem. And one thing my dad always said was, I don't mind you sharing, but I'm only going to give you 30 seconds. If you don't break good on your 30 seconds, guess what? It was good seeing. But in this situation, I didn't tell him that, but I'm not always going to allow somebody to harp on me when we can deal more with the solution versus the problem. Yes, I'm not saying something major happened. Do hear someone out, not rushing them and say, don't tell me about your situation. But what I'm saying is we're not going to focus more on the problem versus what can we do about creating a solution. That's my whole point. And in this situation, I gave them a couple steps. Hey, boom, 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 solve that situation. It's not as bad as you think about if you seek wise counsel. So that's my whole point, is start seeking the right help for the right solution. So whenever something happened to me, like my physical, if I hurt my elbow, I don't just go by and talk to anybody. I go to my doctor. I go to my doctor and say, my elbow hurt. And they ask me what the symptoms are, whatever it is. And I'm expecting them to give me a solution. So that's the right person for that situation. And that's the same thing in life. You're not going to always take everybody's advice, but you want to make sure you're seeking wise counsel so you can move in the right direction. So if you're lost, guess what? You want to find some counsel for someone who knows that area. You don't want to call your mama way across town or another state and find out, hey, how to get there. No, you ask the next person at the gas station. How do you get down the block? Well. You ask them how to get there. And that's when you seek wise counsel. But even on another note, after you seek wise counsel, now you have to put in action. You have to put the necessary steps to start getting yourself out of the gap and down the road to your destination. Because yes, it may not be easy to get out of the gap, because sometimes you may have dug a deep hole that it takes time to get out the gap. But you have to start doing the necessary things to get you out of that situation and into the place that you've been purposed to get into. And so I encourage you to do the work once you know what you need to do. And if you do that, you will find yourself in the winning spot in this right time. So I encourage you to like, subscribe, but also check out this next episode, because if you like this one, we got something greater for you. Be great.